And Uar, there she is. Feasts like pirates. Did you know the nickname of Bristol Rovers Football Club is the Pirates? And Plymouth Argyle's football team, that's called, isn't their nickname the Pirates or something? Something to do with that sort of thing. And that's all a reference to sort of what went on hundreds of years ago. And this is a replica. I'm sure it's of the Endeavour. It's believe it or not, it's not that well signposted. But anyway, and I'll tell you what this got me thinking about. That just by Canary Wharf in London, on the north side of the River Thames, there's a monument at a place called Virginia Quay. And that's because back in 1619, that's where the Mayflower departed from. Not sure if the monument is the exact place, you know, to the yard, or if it's close enough. And the monument was unveiled by the US ambassador, I don't know, 20 odd years ago, something like that. Anyway, and but of course, when those when the Pilgrims or the Puritans, you know, these things can get a bit murky, departed, they only went across one ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and it wasn't a voyage of discovery like Captain Cook's. Captain Cook was away for many years on his 3 expeditions, and of course he didn't really know what was upon him, so to speak. And he truly did, I mean, go out into that unknown. And the Pilgrims, of course, were almost certainly, or the Puritans, headed for Virginia. And no doubt because of the currents and what have you, they ended up in Massachusetts. And interestingly enough, actually, that monument, the one by Canary Wharf, is called Virginia Quay. It's not called Massachusetts Quay. But the Pilgrims, Puritans, they had some idea of where they were going, Virginia. I mean, they didn't actually get there, but at least that was their intention. Whereas Cook had no idea. I mean, zero. I mean, zilch, nada, nothing. And you know, it got me thinking that, you know, these days it's not possible, is it, really, to go into have such a voyage of unknown, unless you count space and also our own oceans, because, you know, we haven't really been, can we? Not right now. I mean, I suppose we could kind of. Yeah, whereas the Pilgrims, Puritans, you know, slightly different, but nevertheless, I mean, it still wasn't an easy task, that's for sure. You know, I mean, it was 150 odd years before Cook. You know, obviously the technologies have changed in that time. But anyway, so yeah, it got me thinking about, actually, you know, like, where, if you know, on our planet, if you really wanted to explore something completely unknown, I mean, I suppose there are still 1 or 2 places, land somewhere, I guess, in the deserts or Antarctic, Arctic, you know, I mean, it still does exist, I guess, or say our own oceans. But, you know, from the point of view of sort of just getting a plane and, you know, renting a 4-wheel drive and going off somewhere, you know, the options are limited, aren't they, on this planet? You know, if you want to do something that nobody's done before, you know, but say there are still possibilities. Anyway, let's find out what this is the Endeavour, right? Excuse me, could I have one of them?
Yeah.
This is the Endeavour, right? The replica,
yes, that's it,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's the.
That's
okay.
like your breakfast and fish and chips.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. What's this cost to go in?
It's free to go in.
Oh, this one's free.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
The museum, so just put suite 2 up.
Oh, okay.
Museum, middle deck and the upper deck, that's free. Then there's a bar grill, you know, hot and cold drinks and food.
Oh, that's all. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, I should say, there's lots of fish and chips around here. There's a place over to the left that claims to have won a national award in 2019. There's a place just there that, just down there a couple hundred yards, that won some sort of BBC award for the best chippy. It doesn't say which year. So depends how you look upon this sort of thing. Anyway, so I might go in, I suppose. But this is the Endeavour. I was just thinking, actually, can you imagine being, in a place like Hawaii or Tahiti or wherever, and you're out in your little longboats, whatever they call them, and you saw something like this. It's got to be a little intimidating, I suppose. Oh, another thing I should say that yes, that monument to Captain Cook, there was something from Canada. That's because, of course, he did go to Canada. After Hawaii, he went to Russia, and then to what is now the west coast of Canada. There's a place there called Vancouver, which is named after, I don't know if it's one of Cook's crew. I think it was maybe a few years after Cook. And of course, Cook was trying to seek a passage through Canada to come out the other side onto the Atlantic. And of course he couldn't, so he had to go all the way back. But yeah, and of course the weather would have been a bit colder there, and certainly not Tahiti, that's for sure. Yeah, so he truly did get around. And just a final thought, if I may, from the deck of the replica of the Bark Endeavour. Okay, for some reason the word bark, B-A-R-K, is put in front of the word Endeavour. Gotta be a reason. Can't be that difficult to find out why, but... And this sort of thing amuses me. Endeavour was not a big ship, but imagine if, as well as the 95 crew on board, there were sheep, pigs, chickens, goats, and on occasion, cows. Cook left breeding pairs of pigs and sheep on the islands when they came ashore. That way, when they returned months and sometimes years later, there would be a supply of meat for the crew's table. And it makes perfect sense, doesn't it, And yet somebody had to have that thought to do that. It's just a good idea. Now, of course, maybe on those islands today, there are some people complaining about the number of sheep and pigs and blaming Cook for it. Life's not perfect, is it, But anyway, so here we are on the stern of the Bark Endeavour. There's a, I guess that's an unused RNLI boat, Royal National Lifeboat Institution. But they do have a museum about 300 yards down that way. For the most part, I do respect that organisation tremendously. There's been a few ifs in the last few years now because of what's going on with the boat people coming across from France and landing in Kent. But anyway, besides that. So Whitby, there's the train station. And just to the right of it, you can see those blue things. Those are buses. And so if you come by bus, which is what I did, that's where you get off. It's really, as you can see, it's really handy. Train station's right there, and all of this is, right just outside, really. There's a supermarket there, actually, a co-op. And then you've got everything in front of you. That's the white bridge that takes you across to the other side. As far as I can see, I'm not sure, because there was no other bridges to the left of that. To the right, I don't know if there's something else down there that you could use to get across. But certainly that's it's also a car bridge as well, actually. Vehicle bridge. Anyway, so but that noise, by the way, it's not coming from live animals. It's recording. And 17 sheep. Cook left pigs in Tasmania, New Zealand and other islands. This ensured healthy populations for food on the return trip years later. How sensible. Now, of course, if they found the Northwest Passage, they wouldn't have actually had to go back. And of course, they were just getting the hang of longitude there, right? With the Pilgrims, there was no longitude, which is probably why they ended up in Massachusetts instead of Virginia. Part of what Cook was experimenting with, there was the transit of Venus, but there was also longitude. Of course, that was critical. That was critical. Latitude was no problem, but of course you need both. You need both. It's not open to discussion. And so Cook was involved in the experiments. I think he used to take the latest technology as regards clocks aboard and experiment, and hopefully all was good. But yeah, so he got involved in that. It wasn't like, you know, you just go to foreign lands and, you know, rape, pillage and plunder and all that, like the Vikings and others. It wasn't that at all. I mean, there's probably a bit of that here and there, maybe, but anyway, so there's the Abbey up there, and I am going to go to the supermarket to get some. Later, Gators.